The Galactic Council reeled in shock as an ancient alien beacon of unknown origin burst to life, its existence shattering their long-held beliefs about the fate of humanity. Captain Keith Ross, leader of the human exploration vessel, stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the pulsing beacon floating amid the stars. As his crew cautiously approached the enigmatic object, a sense of anticipation and unease permeated the air. Light years away, the signal reached the heart of the Galactic Council, interrupting their proceedings with its startling implications. Earth, a planet they had dismissed as a desolate wasteland for centuries, now demanded their attention. Volar, a respected Hazari investigator, found himself at the center of the Council's deliberations, tasked with assembling an elite team to uncover the truth behind the signal. Tensions mounted as Council members clashed over the appropriate response to this unexpected development. Some, like the influential Zorax, advocated for a preemptive strike against Earth, perceiving the resurgence of humanity as a potential threat to the galactic balance of power. Others, including Volar, urged caution and the need for thorough intelligence gathering before taking any drastic action. As Volar's team delved into ancient records, they encountered a grim picture of Earth's fate, a world ravaged by war, disease, and environmental catastrophe. The evidence suggested that no human could have survived such a cataclysm, let alone rebuilt a civilization capable of reaching for the stars. Yet the beacon's activation challenged everything they thought they knew. Captain Keith Ross and his crew, oblivious to the galactic turmoil they had inadvertently unleashed, focused their attention on the beacon itself. As they examined its surface, fragments of an alien language etched into the ancient metal hinted at a long-forgotten history. Keith's decision to bring the beacon aboard their vessel for further study would set in motion a chain of events that would shape the future of both humanity and the galaxy itself. As Volar's stealth vessel approached Earth, the Hazari operatives stared in disbelief at the readings on their long-range scanners. Thriving cities, advanced infrastructure, and a network of orbital installations painted a picture of a human civilization that had not only survived but flourished in the centuries since the Council had written them off. The shocking revelation left the team speechless, their preconceived notions shattered. In the heart of a sprawling metropolis, Captain Keith Ross and Dr. Eliza Novak pored over the beacon's alien inscriptions. Dr. Novak's brow furrowed as she deciphered the ancient language, piecing together fragments of a dire warning. "This beacon," she said, her voice trembling with the weight of her discovery, "it speaks of an enemy that once threatened the entire galaxy. An extinct alien race sent out this call for help eons ago." Keith's eyes widened as the implication sank in. The beacon's activation had not only alerted the Council to Earth's resurgence, but may have also awakened a long-forgotten foe. Before he could fully process the revelation, an urgent communication from Earth's defense forces crackled through the comm system. "Captain Ross, we have a situation. An alien vessel has breached our atmosphere and landed outside the city. They've been intercepted by Commander Reeves's squadron." Without hesitation, Keith gathered his security detail and Dr. Novak racing towards the landing site. The air crackled with tension as they arrived, finding Commander Reeves and his team locked in a tense standoff with the Hazari operatives. Weapons were drawn, fingers hovering over triggers, as the two sides eyed each other warily. Volar stepped forward, her hands raised in a cautious gesture of peace. "We come on behalf of the Galactic Council," she stated, her voice steady despite the charged atmosphere. "Our mission is to investigate the activation of the beacon and assess the state of human civilization." Commander Reeves narrowed his eyes, distrust etched into his features. "We've been burned by alien races before," he growled, his grip tightening on his weapon. "Give us one good reason why we should trust you." Keith recognized the pivotal moment, the delicate balance upon which the fate of both their species rested. With Dr. Novak at his side, he approached Volar, the beacon's translations clutched in his hand. "The beacon contains a warning," he said, his voice carrying across the standoff. "A warning of an ancient enemy that once threatened the galaxy. If we're to face this threat, we need to work together." Volar's eyes widened as she absorbed Keith's words, the pieces of the puzzle falling into place. She turned to Commander Reeves, her tone urgent. "Captain Ross speaks the truth. The Council may have misjudged humanity, But now we have a common enemy. We must put aside our differences and forge an alliance for the sake of both our peoples. Commander Reeves hesitated, the weight of the decision heavy on his shoulders. Yet the evidence before him and the gravity of the situation left little choice. With a curt nod, he lowered his weapon. "Very well," he agreed, his voice gruff. "But this alliance is tentative. We'll be watching you closely." As the two sides began to cautiously engage in dialogue, a cloaked Zoraxian probe observed from high above, its advanced sensors capturing every word and movement. Deep within the heart of the Council, the Zoraxians schemed, their hunger for power and domination fueled by the beacon's activation and humanity's unexpected resurgence. Unaware of the looming threat, Captain Keith Ross, Voller, and their respective teams embarked on a tenuous partnership, the fate of Earth and the galaxy hanging in the balance. The beacon's secrets held the key to their survival, but trust remained a fragile commodity as they navigated the treacherous waters of interstellar diplomacy. The stage was set for a battle unlike any the galaxy had seen before, a clash of civilizations, ancient enemies, and hidden agendas. As the story unfolded, the limits of human resilience and the boundaries of alliances would be tested, the future shaped by the choices made in the face of an uncertain and dangerous cosmos. The tension in the air was palpable as Captain Keith Ross and Commander Marcus Reeves entered the secure meeting room. Earth's gleaming metropolis stretched out beyond the reinforced windows, a testament to humanity's resilience. Across the polished table, Voller and her Hazari team waited, their alien features a stark reminder of the vast gulf between their civilizations. Dr. Eliza Novak strode in, her arms laden with data tablets. She spread them across the table, activating a holographic display that filled the room with swirling alien glyphs. "Gentlemen and honored guests," she began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "The beacon we discovered isn't just a signal, it's a warning." The room fell silent as Dr. Novak manipulated the hologram, revealing images of a long-lost alien civilization. These beings once called Earth home, long before our ancestors walked upright. They left this beacon as a safeguard against a threat they called the Vorlax. Volar leaned forward, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the holographic light. "The Vorlax," she whispered, a hint of recognition in her voice. She tapped a device on her wrist, projecting classified Galactic Council records into the air alongside Novak's findings. "We believe them extinct," Voller explained, her tone grave. "A warmongering race that nearly brought the galaxy to its knees eons ago." Commander Reeves' fist clenched on the table. "Extinct? Then how do you explain this?" He gestured to an image of Earth, scarred and burning, dated centuries earlier. Dr. Novak's fingers flew over her controls, overlaying the images. "The cataclysm that nearly wiped us out. It wasn't natural. The energy signatures matched known Vorlax weapons." The room erupted in a cacophony of voices, human and alien alike struggling to process the implications. Captain Ross raised his hand, silencing the chaos. "If the Vorlax targeted us before, they may do so again," he stated, his eyes scanning the faces around him. "We need to understand why and how to stop them." As the meeting progressed, plans for a joint task force took shape. Outside, unnoticed by the assembled leaders, a nondescript maintenance worker slipped away from the building. Her eyes, hidden behind dark lenses, gleamed with an otherworldly intelligence as she tapped out a coded message on a concealed device. Miles above, cloaked in the shadows of Earth's moon, Admiral Zoran of the Zoraxian fleet received the transmission. A cruel smile played across his features as he turned to his second-in-command. "Excellent work, Zara," he murmured. "Continue your infiltration. Soon we'll have them exactly where we want them." Back in the meeting room, Captain Ross and Voller shook hands, sealing their uneasy alliance. As they filed out, Dr. Novak caught Lucas Riker's eye, the brilliant engineer already formulating plans for adapting the ancient alien tech. "We should start with the ruins," Riker suggested, his mind racing with possibilities. "If there's answers to be found, that's where we'll find them." Unbeknownst to them, Zara fell into step beside the group, her false identity as a human scientist flawless. "I might be able to help with that," she offered, her voice laden with fabricated enthusiasm. "I've studied similar ruins on other worlds." As the newly formed task force headed towards their first mission, the weight of their responsibility hung heavy in the air. The fate of Earth, perhaps the entire galaxy, rested on their shoulders. And deep beneath the planet's surface, in chambers untouched for millennia, ancient machines stirred to life, awaiting the return of those who had built them. The ancient chambers beneath Earth's surface rumbled to life, dust cascading from long-dormant machinery as the joint human-Hazari task force ventured deeper into the ruins. Lucas Riker's eyes gleamed with excitement as he ran his hand over a control panel, its surface pulsing with an otherworldly energy. "This technology, it's beyond anything we've ever seen," he breathed, his fingers dancing across alien symbols. "Dr. Novak, look at this." Dr. Eliza Novak hurried over, her brow furrowed in concentration as she examined the intricate circuitry. "These energy signatures, they're off the charts. If we can harness this power, it could revolutionize our defenses against the Vorlax threat." Captain Keith Ross watched as his team worked, a mixture of awe and unease settling in his gut. The cavernous chamber stretched out before them, filled with row upon row of sleek metallic objects that could only be weapons of unimaginable destructive capability. Volar approached, her multifaceted eyes reflecting the eerie blue glow of the alien technology. "Captain, my team has discovered what appears to be a hyperspace drive. Its capabilities far exceed anything in the Council's arsenal." Before Ross could respond, a triumphant shout echoed through the chamber. "I've got it!" Riker called out, his hands flying over a massive computer core. The air hummed with power as holographic displays burst to life, filling the room with swirling alien glyphs and diagrams. As the team gathered around, Dr. Novak's eyes widened in horror. This is the true history of Earth," she whispered, her voice trembling. "The Vorlax. They weren't defeated. They're still out there, waiting." The revelation sent shockwaves through the group. Commander Reeves clenched his fists, his face a mask of hardly restrained rage. "You're telling me these bastards nearly wiped us out, and now they're coming back to finish the job?" Zara, the Zoraxian infiltrator, listened intently, her false human facade betraying nothing as she discreetly transmitted the information to her superiors. Meanwhile, on the surface, the streets of Earth's gleaming metropolis erupted in chaos. Protesters clashed with security forces, their angry shouts echoing off towering skyscrapers. "No more alien lies!" a man screamed, hurling a makeshift explosive at a line of riot police. The device detonated, sending shards of debris flying through the air. Commander Reeves' voice crackled over the comm system. "Captain Ross, the situation up here is deteriorating rapidly. We need to contain this before it spirals out of control." Ross exchanged a grim look with Volar. "We're out of time," he said, his voice tight with urgency. "We need to inform the Council about everything we've learned. It's our only chance to unite against the Vorlax threat." As Ross and Volar prepared to make their fateful transmission, neither noticed Zara slipping away, a cold smile playing across her lips. High above Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Zoran of the Zoraxian fleet received her coded message, his eyes glinting with anticipation. "At last," he growled, turning to his second-in-command. "Prepare the fleet. The time has come to seize our destiny." The Zoraxian warships decloaked, their massive forms casting ominous shadows over the unsuspecting Earth. As Ross's transmission to the Council began, the first salvos of energy weapons pierced the planet's defensive shields, heralding the start of a conflict that would reshape the galaxy. The transmission crackled to life, Captain Ross's voice steady as he relayed their findings to the Galactic Council. But before he could finish, alarms blared throughout the complex. "Multiple warships decloaking," Volar shouted, her multifaceted eyes wide with shock. "Energy signatures match Zoraxian design." The cavern shook violently as the first volley of plasma torpedoes struck. Dust and debris rained down, ancient technology sparking and shattering under the onslaught. "Evacuate!" Ross bellowed, grabbing Dr. Novak's arm and dragging her toward the exit. "Riker, grab what you can." The engineer snatched a handful of data crystals, shoving them into his pockets as he sprinted after the others. Commander Reeves's voice crackled over the comms, urgent and strained. Ross, we're under heavy bombardment. Earth's defenses are barely holding. What the hell is going on down there? Zoraxians, Ross panted, ducking as another explosion rocked the tunnel. They intercepted our transmission. We're compromised. They burst into the hangar bay, smoke billowing from ruptured conduits. A sleek scout ship sat waiting, its engines already humming to life. Everyone in, Voller commanded, herding the humans aboard. As Ross strapped himself into the pilot's seat, movement caught his eye. Zara, their supposed human scientist, was sprinting across the hangar floor, a cylindrical object clutched to her chest. Stop her, Ross shouted, but it was too late. Zara leapt into a waiting Zoraxian shuttle, its cloaking field shimmering as it vanished from sight. The scout ship rocketed out of the collapsing hangar, narrowly avoiding a cascade of falling debris. As they climbed through the atmosphere, the true scale of devastation became apparent. Zoraxian warships hung in low orbit, their weapons raining destruction on Earth's cities and military installations. This is a nightmare, Dr. Novak whispered, her face ashen as she watched her homeworld burn. Suddenly the ship lurched as a tractor beam locked on. Ross gritted his teeth, wrestling with the controls. Hang on, he yelled, engaging the emergency thrusters. The scout ship strained against the pull, metal groaning under the stress. With a final burst of power, they broke free, streaking past the Zoraxian blockade and into the inky blackness of space. But their reprieve was short-lived. Sensors blared a warning as multiple Zoraxian pursuers fell into formation behind them. We can't outrun them forever, Riker said, frantically working the ship's systems. Wait, I'm picking up an unusual energy signature. It looks like a warp trail? Volar leaned over his shoulder, her antennae twitching. That's Zara's shuttle. If we can track her, we might find the Zoraxian staging area. Ross nodded grimly, setting a course to follow the fading trail. As stars streaked past the view screen, the weight of their situation settled over the small crew. Earth was under siege, their allies scattered or dead, and they were hurtling into unknown space with a relentless enemy at their heels. Captain, Voller said softly, her alien features etched with concern. What's our next move? Ross's face hardened as he stared into the void ahead. We find Zara, we find the Zoraxians, and then we stop them before they can awaken something far worse than themselves. The scout ship pushed deeper into uncharted territory, carrying with it the last hope for Earth and the galaxy beyond. The scout ship's sensors pinged, jolting Captain Ross from his restless sleep. He blinked, focusing on the display before him. We've got something, he announced, voice hoarse. Zara's warp trail ends near a volcanic moon in uncharted space. Volar leaned over his shoulder, her antennae twitching. Zoraxian energy signatures, dozens of ships. We can't take on a fleet, Dr. Novak said, her face drawn with exhaustion. Ross nodded grimly. No, but we might have one shot at stopping them. He pulled up the comm system, fingers flying over the controls. This is Captain Keith Ross of Earth, transmitting on all Galactic Council frequencies. We have critical intelligence regarding the Vorlax threat and Zoraxian betrayal. For agonizing minutes, only static answered. Then a familiar voice crackled through. This is Admiral Kieran of the Ixari. Transmit your data immediately. Ross uploaded their findings, watching the progress bar crawl across the screen. When it completed, silence reigned. Your evidence is compelling, Kieran said at last. A coalition fleet is en route to your coordinates. Hold position and await further instructions. Hours later, the vast expanse of space shimmered as hundreds of ships dropped out of warp. The comm chirped, and Admiral Kieran's hologram materialized. We'll conceal ourselves near the moon, he said, his reptilian features set in iron will. Your team must infiltrate and determine Zoran's objective. Ross nodded. Understood, Admiral. The plan came together swiftly. Using a captured Zoraxian fighter, Ross, Voller, Novak, and Riker slipped past the enemy perimeter. The volcanic moon's surface stretched before them, a hellscape of ash and magma. There, Voller pointed. A massive entrance yawned in the cliff face, guarded by Zoraxian troops. They landed under cover of a steaming fissure and made their way to the complex. Inside, the air thrummed with almost unchecked power. Conveyor belts snaked through cavernous chambers, carrying components to towering robotic assemblers. "By the stars," Novak breathed. "It's a Vorlax warforge." A familiar figure strode across a distant catwalk. Zara, her human disguise discarded, barked orders at enslaved workers. "Look," Riker whispered, gesturing to a massive shape taking form in the central bay. "That's got to be a Vorlax dreadnought." Ross's blood ran cold. If that thing launches, Earth is finished. They crept deeper into the complex, dodging patrols and scanning for weaknesses. In a secluded data hub, Novak's eyes widened as she pored over holographic schematics. "The warforge is powered by a central matrix," she explained. "If we could destroy it—" "Not possible," Riker interjected. "The shielding is impenetrable." Volar's antennae twitched. "Perhaps not physically, but—" She touched her temple. "My people possess certain psychic abilities. If I could project a virus into their systems—" "It's risky," Ross warned. "It's our only shot," Volar countered. They split up, each with a crucial task. Novak interfaced with the archives, mapping network pathways. Riker worked feverishly to rig Volar's telepathic projection for maximum effectiveness. Ross tapped his comm. "Reeves, we need a distraction. Hit them hard and fast." As alarms blared and Zoraxian troops scrambled to repel boarders, Volar settled into a meditative pose. Her eyes glowed with an eerie light as she reached out with her mind, probing the vast network before her. "I'm in," she whispered. "Beginning upload." Outside, space erupted in brilliant flashes as the Council fleet engaged Zorn's armada. But within the warforge, an unseen battle raged as Volar's psychic virus wormed its way through firewalls and security protocols. A tremor shook the complex. Warning klaxons shrieked. The dreadnought's engines roared to life. "We're out of time," Ross shouted over the din. "Volar, now or never." Sweat beaded on the Hazari's brow as she pushed her abilities to their limit. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a deafening crack, the power matrix's shielding collapsed. "We've got our opening," Ross yelled into his comm. "All units, converge on the central chamber." As Council forces poured into the warforge, Ross knew the real battle was just beginning. The fate of Earth, of the entire galaxy, hung in the balance. Balance! The complex shuddered as explosions rocked its foundations. "Incoming!" Ross shouted, diving for cover as a barrage of plasma bolts seared the air above him. Zoraxian troops poured into the chamber, their weapons blazing. Commander Reeves's voice crackled over the comm. "We're engaging hostiles on multiple fronts. Buy us time, Captain." Ross nodded grimly to his team. "Novak, Riker, get to that data repository. Volar, you're with me." They split up, weaving through a maze of catwalks and machinery. The air crackled with energy as the battle raged both within the forge and in space above. Novak's fingers flew over holographic displays, sifting through terabytes of data. "There!" she exclaimed. "The network pathways. Riker, can you—" "Already on it," the engineer replied, patching into the system. "Volar, we're ready for your upload." In the central chamber, Ross and Volar crouched behind a fallen pillar. The Hazari's eyes glowed with an otherworldly light as she reached out with her mind. "Initiating psychic interface," Volar murmured, her body going rigid. A tremor ran through the complex. Warning klaxons shrieked as systems began to fail. But amidst the chaos, a new sound rose, the deep, resonant hum of massive engines coming online. Ross's blood ran cold as he saw the source. In the cavernous assembly bay, a colossal shape stirred to life. The Vorlax dreadnought, its hull gleaming with otherworldly power, began to rise. "No," Ross breathed. "We're too late." A figure strode onto a nearby platform. Zara, her true Zoraxian form revealed. She barked orders at the frantic workers below, her eyes fixed on the awakening behemoth. Without warning, the air shimmered. A holographic figure materialized, a being of impossible angles and shifting geometries that hurt to look at directly. Ross knew with a certainty that chilled him to his core that he was seeing a Vorlax for the first time. "I am Arkan," the being intoned, its voice resonating on multiple frequencies. "Supreme Commander of the Vorlax Imperium." Admiral Zoran stepped forward, bowing low. "Great Arkan, we offer you Earth as a foothold for your glorious return. Our fleets stand ready to serve." Ross's comm crackled. "Captain," Novak's voice was urgent. "The Dreadnought, it's powered by some kind of cosmic force amplifier. The same technology Earth used against the Vorlax eons ago." "Can we shut it down?" Ross whispered. "Not from here," Riker cut in. "But if we overload the matrix taps, we might be able to destabilize its reactor." A deafening roar drowned out further communication. The Dreadnought burst through the cavern roof, ascending rapidly. Its weapons came online, unleashing devastation upon the Council fleet. "All units, concentrate fire on that Dreadnought," Admiral Kieran's voice boomed over the comms. But even as squadrons of fighters and capital ships unleashed their full arsenal, the Vorlax vessel's shields held firm. Ross gritted his teeth, knowing what had to be done. "Novak, Riker, do whatever it takes to overload those taps. Volar, with me. We need to clear a path to the hangar bay." They fought their way through waves of Zoraxian troops, joined by Reeves and his beleaguered strike team. But as they neared their goal, a new threat emerged. Gleaming figures of impossible grace and lethality materialized throughout the complex. Vorlax ground troops, their weapons crackling with energies beyond human comprehension. "Fall back!" Reeves shouted as his team was cut down by precision fire. Ross dragged the injured commander to cover, his mind racing. How could they possibly... A violent tremor rocked the forge. Alarms blared as systems overloaded. Riker had done it. "The Dreadnought's reactor is destabilizing," Novak reported, "but it's not enough to bring it down." Ross looked at the devastation around him, at his wounded comrades and the overwhelming odds. He made his decision. "Get everyone to the evac shuttles," he ordered. "I'll finish this." Before anyone could object, Ross sprinted for a damaged fighter. As he strapped himself in, he took one last look at the team he'd come to see as family. "It's been an honor," he said simply, before sealing the cockpit. The fighter screamed out of the hangar, hurtling towards the looming Dreadnought. Ross pushed the engines past their limits, aiming for a flickering weak point in the shields. "For Earth," he whispered, closing his eyes as he made impact. The resulting explosion was blinding, a shockwave of unimaginable power radiating outward. The Dreadnought's reactor went critical, unleashing energies that tore through space itself. As the light faded, silence fell over the battlefield. Where the mighty Vorlax vessel had been, only debris remained, but the destruction had come at a terrible cost. The warforge collapsed in on itself, great fissures opening in the volcanic moon's surface. Volar stared at the devastation from the viewport of their escape shuttle, her alien features etched with grief. "Captain Ross," she said softly, "he saved us all." Dr. Novak nodded, tears streaming down her face. "But at what cost? The Vorlax are awakening. Earth is still in danger, and we've lost our leader." Engineer Riker's hands tightened on the controls. "Then we finish what he started, for Ross, for Earth, for the entire galaxy." As the shuttle joined the battered remnants of the Council fleet, the weight of their task settled over them. The Vorlax threat had only just begun, and the fate of countless worlds now rested on their shoulders. The blinding flash of the Dreadnought's destruction faded, leaving only eerie silence in its wake. Debris scattered across the battlefield, a graveyard of twisted metal where proud ships once flew. Aboard the escape shuttle, Volar's antennae twitched violently. Her eyes snapped open, glowing with psychic energy. "Captain Ross," she gasped, "he's alive!" Novak gripped the Hazari's arm. "How?" "We saw the explosion." "I reached him," Volar said, her voice strained. "Just before impact. I guided his consciousness into emergency stasis." Riker's hands flew over the controls. "We need to find him, now." The shuttle dove back towards the ravaged moon, dodging chunks of debris. Scanners swept the area, searching for any trace of Ross's fighter. There! Novak pointed to a flickering energy signature. It's faint, but... A massive tremor shook the moon. The Warforge's power core detonated, sending shockwaves through the subterranean complex. Caverns collapsed, burying everything within. Reeves, Riker breathed. His team was still inside. The comm crackled to life. Admiral Kieran's voice, taut with tension. All units, this is a priority rescue operation. Find survivors and extract immediately. Hours passed in frantic searching. Novak and Riker guided a rescue team to Ross's miraculously intact stasis pod. They found Reeves and his strike force, battered but alive, trapped beneath tons of rubble. But Voller was nowhere to be found. We have to keep looking, Novak insisted, her face drawn with exhaustion. Riker shook his head. We can't detect her life signs, and there's movement on the surface. Through the shuttle's view screen, they watched as gleaming figures emerged from the ruins. The Vorlax ground troops, regrouping under the command of a being that defied description. Arkan. They're retreating, Riker said, disbelief coloring his voice. The Vorlax seized what functional ships remained and fled, taking with them the stasis-frozen forms of Zara and Zoran. Admiral Kieran's voice cut through the shock. All units, withdraw immediately. We've taken heavy losses and cannot risk further engagement. The battered coalition limped away from the volcanic moon, leaving behind the shattered remains of the Warforge. Voller's absence deeply affected on them all. Aboard Kieran's flagship, the grim reality set in. Over two-thirds of the Council Armada lay in ruins, and with Zoran's betrayal, the entire Zoraxian nation teetered on the brink of chaos. This is a catastrophe, one of Kieran's advisors hissed. We've lost nearly everything. Chiron's reptilian features hardened. Not everything. We still have Earth. But even that lifeline began to fray. As news of the battle spread, Earth erupted in turmoil. Riots blazed through major cities. Hardliners accused the government of manufacturing an alien threat. Commander Reeves, still recovering from his injuries, found himself stripped of rank and thrown into a military prison, a convenient scapegoat for the growing unrest. In a secret lab facility, Novak and Riker worked feverishly over Ross's stasis pod. The captain's vital signs fluctuated wildly, his mind trapped in a deteriorating loop of memories and hallucinations. His neural patterns are degrading rapidly, Novak said, her voice tight with worry. We're losing him. Riker's eyes gleamed with a desperate idea. He pulled up schematics recovered from the Warforged data archives. There might be a way, but it's risky. He explained the Vorlax neural transcription matrix, untested technology that could transfer Ross's consciousness into a simulation construct. Novak's brow furrowed. You want to upload his mind? Riker, we have no idea if human neural patterns are even compatible with Vorlax tech. It's that or watch him die, Riker countered. As they debated, alarms blared from Ross's pod. His vitals plummeted, brain activity spiraling towards flatline. Novak's hands clenched into fists. Earth teetered on the edge of isolationism. The Galactic Alliance hung by a thread. And now, their last hope, the man who had rallied them all, was slipping away. She met Riker's gaze and nodded. Do it. Riker's fingers flew across the holographic interface, initiating the transcription process. Energy crackled around Ross's pod as alien algorithms probed his fading consciousness. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then Ross's eyes snapped open, unseeing as his body convulsed. Neural patterns destabilizing, the computer warned. Consciousness fragmentation imminent. Novak grabbed Riker's arm. We have to stop. A blinding flash erupted from the pod. When it faded, Ross lay motionless, his vital signs flat. But on the nearby holoprojector, a familiar figure flickered into existence. Ross, or something that looked like him, stared at his own hands in wonder. What happened to me? The voice was Ross's, but with an odd, artificial undertone. Novak and Riker exchanged glances, the weight of their decision settling over them. They had saved Earth's greatest hero, but at what cost? And would it be enough to salvage the crumbling alliance? As if in answer, proximity alarms blared throughout the facility. On the security feeds, they watched as government troops converged on the lab. Their time had run out. The facility shook as government troops breached the outer defenses. Alarms blared, bathing the lab in pulsing red light. Novak's fingers flew across the interface, initiating emergency protocols. "We need to move," Riker shouted over the din. "Now!" They disconnected Ross's holographic form, transferring his unstable matrix to a portable device. As they sprinted through the corridors, Ross's image flickered and distorted. "What's happening to me?" His voice glitched, breaking apart. Novak's face was grim. "The neural architectures are incompatible. We need to stabilize you." They reached a secure hangar, climbing aboard a stealth shuttle. As Riker prepped for launch, Novak's mind raced. There was only one person with the expertise to help them now. "We need Reeves," she said. Riker's head snapped up. "He's in military prison. How do we—" "I have an idea." Hours later, they touched down near the high-security facility holding Reeves. Using stolen access codes, Novak infiltrated the prison while Riker maintained their stealth field. She found Reeves in a stark cell, his once proud frame diminished by confinement. His eyes widened at the sight of her. "Dr. Novak, what are you—" "No time," she cut him off, deactivating his restraints. "Earth needs you. Ross needs you." They fled the prison, alarms erupting in their wake. Reeves gaped at the flickering image of Ross as they boarded the shuttle. "My God," he breathed, "what have you done?" As they broke atmosphere, Riker explained their audacious attempt. Reeves listened intently, his tactical mind already formulating a plan. "I know a place," he said. "An abandoned Vorlax outpost on a barren moon. If we can access their systems—" They set course, pushing the shuttle's stealth capabilities to their limits. Behind them, Earth's orbital defenses blazed to life, hunting for phantom intruders. The outpost was a decaying relic, half buried in lunar dust. Reeves' expertise with Vorlax systems proved invaluable as they brought long-dormant equipment online. "His pattern is degrading fast," Novak warned, monitoring Ross's failing matrix. Reeves' hands danced across alien controls. "I think I can stabilize him by integrating his consciousness with these quantum matrices, but it's risky." Ross's hologram flickered. "Do it!" he rasped. Energy surged through forgotten conduits. Ross's form convulsed, fragmenting into a kaleidoscope of light before coalescing. When it settled, he stood straighter, his eyes blazing with newfound clarity. "I can feel it," he marveled. "The power of Vorlax technology." Their moment of triumph was short-lived. The outpost's long-range sensors crackled to life, painting a grim picture of the situation on Earth. Civil war had erupted. General Trovan, a hardline extremist, had seized control. His face dominated every broadcast, proclaiming himself humanity's savior as he severed all ties with the Galactic Council. "This is madness," Reeves growled. "He'll doom us all." But worse was yet to come. As they monitored transmissions, a familiar, impossible figure appeared. Supreme Commander Arkin of the Vorlax. "No," Ross whispered. "It can't be." They watched in horror as Arkin and Trovan brokered a devil's bargain. Earth would become the staging ground for renewed Vorlax conquest, with Trovan as their puppet ruler. "We have to stop them," Novak said. Ross's holographic form pulsed with grit. "I have a plan, but it will cost me everything." Using salvaged Vorlax stealth technology, they infiltrated Trovan's heavily fortified command citadel. Ross interfaced directly with the general systems, his consciousness spreading like wildfire through the military network. Alarms blared. Trovan's forces turned on their Vorlax allies as Ross exposed the alien deception. But the strain proved too much for his fragile matrix. "I'm breaking apart," Ross gasped, his form destabilizing. Novak reached for him, her hand passing through the fading hologram. "Ross, no!" His eyes met hers one last time. "Find Voller," he said, his voice fading. "She's the key. Save the Alliance. Stop the Vorlax." With a final burst of light, Captain Ross, hero of Earth, savior of the galaxy, winked out of existence. Reeves grabbed Novak's arm. "We have to go. Now!" They fled the crumbling citadel, boarding their shuttle as chaos engulfed the planet below. Earth had been saved from Vorlak's manipulation, but at a terrible cost. As they broke orbit, branded as traitors and outcasts, Novak clung to Ross's final words. Somewhere out there, Voller still lived, and with her, hope for the future. Reeves set course for the stars, leaving behind a world torn apart by war and betrayal. Their mission was clear: find Voller, rebuild the shattered Galactic Council, and stop the Vorlak's resurgence. The shuttle vanished into the depths of space, carrying the last embers of resistance against the coming storm. The shuttle's systems hummed softly as it drifted through the vast emptiness of space. Commander Reeves sat at the helm, his eyes fixed on the sensor readouts. Dr. Novak paced behind him, her fingers tapping restlessly against her thigh. "Anything?" she asked for what felt like the 100th time. Reeves shook his head. "Still nothing concrete, just whispers." They had been chasing those whispers for months now, faint traces of Vollar's unique telepathic signature. Each time they thought they were close, the trail went cold, leaving them adrift in an endless sea of stars. A sudden chime from the console made them both jump. Reeves leaned forward, his brow furrowing as he studied the readout. "It's stronger this time," he said, his voice tight with suppressed excitement. "Much stronger. Coordinates are coming through now." Novak peered over his shoulder. "That's inside the Crimson Nebula. It's completely uncharted." "Then that's where we're going." The shuttle's engines flared to life as Reeves set their new course. As they approached the nebula's outer fringes, swirling clouds of crimson gas enveloped them. Visibility dropped to near zero. "I'm picking up a metallic signature," Novak reported, her eyes glued to the scanner. "It's... oh God." The mist parted, revealing a ghastly sight. A Hazari Deep Scout vessel hung motionless in space, its hull torn open in multiple places. Scorch marks and impact craters spoke of a savage battle. "That's Voller's ship," Reeves breathed. They initiated docking procedures with trembling hands. As the airlock cycled, Novak checked her environmental suit one last time. "Ready?" Reeves asked. She nodded grimly. The interior of the Hazari vessel was a nightmare made real. Bodies floated in the zero gravity, desiccated husks that had once been proud warriors. Novak fought down a wave of nausea as they made their way to the command sphere. There, slumped in the captain's chair, they found her. "Voller!" Novak choked out. The Hazari's body was a ruin, crushed and torn by some catastrophic impact. But improbably, a flicker of life still clung to those alien features. Vollar's eyes snapped open, focusing on them with effort. "You came," she rasped. Reeves knelt beside her. "What happened?" "Ambush," Voller managed. "Vorlak's waiting for us." Her body spasmed, and suddenly Novak's mind was awash in a torrent of images. She saw the Vorlak's, reborn and more terrible than ever. Entire worlds crumbling to ash. And something else, a weapon of unimaginable power, hidden in the spaces between realities. "The Demiurge Forge," Voller whispered, "our only hope." Another vision crashed over them. Captain Ross, his consciousness fractured and scattered across countless realities. "He lives," Voller said, her voice fading. "Find him, unite him, stop the Vorlak's." With a final shuddering breath, Voller went still. Reeves and Novak stood in stunned silence, the weight of their new mission settling over them. They were no longer just fugitives. They were the last hope for all of existence. As they prepared to leave, a final chilling realization dawned. Voller's visions had shown them more than just the threat they faced. They had revealed a web of deception and hidden agendas stretching back eons. "We can't trust anyone," Novak said softly. "Not anymore." Reeves nodded grimly. "Then it's just us against the universe." They returned to their shuttle, charting a course into the unknown. Somewhere out there, fragments of Ross's consciousness waited to be found. Somewhere the Demiurge Forge slumbered. And everywhere the shadows of the Vorlax grew longer.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.